Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed and tonight we are going to focus on the Egyptian-Kuwaiti strategic relations, which were deep-rooted within the history of both Arab nations. As we did see yesterday on Saturday, Egypt declaring the state of mourning following the death of the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah. And today we have seen His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi paying a visit to be paying his condolences to the Kuwaiti Emir and the incoming Emir Mash'al of Kuwait. Of course, we'll be focusing on the future of the Egyptian-Kuwaiti relations as well as the history of both countries. And we will be starting straight away with the top stories that took place today with the main activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as he received the credentials of new ambassadors to Egypt. The presidential spokesman said that President al-Sisi welcomed the new ambassadors, wishing them success in their mission. The spokesman said that the new ambassadors were from Bahrain, Denmark, South Korea, Austria, Bosnia, Brazil, the Netherlands, Turkey, Latvia, Senegal, Mexico, Mauritania, Qatar, and Romania, as well as Rwanda, Bangladesh, Tanzania, Algeria, Yemen, and Kyrgyzstan. Sisi had stressed that Egypt is keen on enhancing the bilateral relations with their countries and continue coordination on various issues of mutual concern. As for the second item of top stories for the daily debate for tonight, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Sunday paid condolences on the death of Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Sabah, who passed away on Saturday. Over a visit to Kuwait, the President mourned the deceased Emir as he met with the incoming Emir, Sheikh Mash'al. Earlier, the President said in a statement that Egypt deplores the loss of a leader who was supportive of his Arab and Islamic nations, keen on its affairs, wise in his leadership, and great in his generosity to his country and to the world. The statement added that Egypt declares 3 days of mourning for the deceased Kuwaiti Emir nationwide, asking God to bestow mercy on the outgoing Emir and to inspire the people of Kuwait with patience. The President also wished the new Emir success in his leadership to continue the Kuwaiti drive for progress and prosperity. We will be heading to the first report of the daily debate for tonight, which focuses on the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the past week. In the upcoming report, stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inspects the construction work to develop a number of roads and axes in Greater Cairo, especially General Mahmoud Nasr Axis. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi visits the headquarters of the Police Academy and witnesses the background check examinations for students applying to join the Police Academy. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi receives a phone call from Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss the regional situation especially in the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian territories, in light of the tense political and humanitarian conditions. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is following up on new city projects in various regions of the country and the government's ongoing development efforts in those regions. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi follows developments and cooperation activities in the field of irrigation and water resources with the Nile Basin countries. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a phone call from the President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a phone call from King Hamad bin Isa al-Khalifa, King of the Kingdom of Bahrain, where Mr. President congratulated the Kingdom of Bahrain on the occasion of its celebration of its National Day. The Presidency of the Republic issued a statement in which the Arab Republic of Egypt mourns Sheikh Nawaf al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, Emir of the sisterly state of Kuwait, and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the Egyptian people mourn the deceased leader who was supportive of his Arab and Islamic nation, and Egypt declares mourning for the deceased for a period of 3 days throughout the country.
Welcome back. You're still watching the daily debate. As we did see over the past report, the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi over the past week, but we'll be focusing for the main topic of today's episode of the daily debate on the Egyptian-Kuwaiti relations and the bilateral ties and the future of the Egyptian-Kuwaiti relations, especially with the new incoming Emir Sheikh Mash'al following the death of Sheikh Nawaf al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah. In the upcoming report for the daily debate, we will be shedding more light on the stance that Egypt took following the death of Sheikh Nawaf, the Emir of Kuwait, on Saturday, and the declaration of mourning throughout the nation for 3 days.
Mourned Sheikh Nawaf al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, Emir of brotherly country of Kuwait, who passed away on Saturday. In a statement released by the Egyptian presidency, President Fattah el-Sisi and the Egyptian people mourned the deceased leader, the great man who was supportive of his Arab and Islamic nation, keen on its affairs, wise in his leadership, and gave a lot of effort and generosity to his country and to the Arab and Islamic nations. Egypt has declared 3 days of mourning for the deceased throughout the country. The statement added, "We ask God Almighty to shower the deceased with His mercy, to inspire the brotherly people of Kuwait with patience." Kuwait and Egypt have established strong historic relations dating back to middle of the 19th century. Kuwait and Egypt are cooperating in political, economic, military, cultural, media, educational, judicial, technical, tourism, health, and agricultural domains. Late Emir Sheikh Abdullah Salim al-Sabah visited Egypt 3 times in 1964 for 2 Arab summits and another summit for the non-aligned movement. Late Kuwait Emir Sheikh Jabir al-Ahmed al-Sabah also visited Cairo and Alexandria in a sign of appreciation to Egypt's support. His Highness, the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, also contributed to strengthening of ties to different levels since assuming office in 2006. Educational cooperation is dated back to February 1939, when Kuwait sent citizens to receive education at Al-Azhar University. Egypt sent 4 teachers to Kuwait in early 1942. Kuwait started sending male students to continue their education in Egypt starting 1952 and female students in 1956. The 2 countries are certainly bound to historic relations, and that was manifested in Egyptian President Fattah el-Sisi's visits to Kuwait.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I am honored to be having with me over the program for tonight Mr. Ahmed Sawwan, the political analyst, or Dr. Ahmed Sawwan. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate. Of course, the main topic for tonight will be focusing on the Egyptian-Kuwaiti relations following the death of the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah on Saturday, and the declaration of a state of mourning throughout the nation here in the country for 3 days. First of all, how would you describe the Egyptian-Kuwaiti relations under the tenure of Sheikh Nawaf?
I was involved a lot with Kuwait, and I will tell you, since my father was studying in Al-Azhar University.
Yes.
And he had a roommate, Kuwaiti young man. And once he finished their college, a Kuwaiti young man went to Kuwait, and he becomes a state minister, Mr. Abdelaziz Hussein. And the relation continues the rest of their lives.
Yes.
And I myself went to Kuwait and for a few years also when I was young. And that's how is the relation between Egypt and Kuwait. Most of the people who govern Kuwait now, they either study in Egypt, or they have a relation with Egypt, or they had their teachers from Egypt. It's very close relation always between the two countries. And I think always Kuwait also supports the Arab relation, and especially the relation with Egypt and with Islamic countries.
So for today, how do you see the significance made of the visit by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Kuwait to be paying his condolences and offering his condolences to the incoming Emir Sheikh Mash'al?
Yes, that's what I'm exactly talking about. It's a brotherhood, and it's a very close relation between us and Kuwait. And through the history, recent and old history, Egypt was always supportive of Kuwait. Kuwait was always supportive of Egypt, and they had a mutual good stand with long time relation. And that's why we have to offer our condolences. And our president himself went there for that reason. And we are mourning all in Egypt for this good man.
How would you see, Doctor, the future bilateral ties between Egypt and Kuwait?
I think it's always improving. It was improving for the whole history. And our stand together in all these communities and all these organizations, Arab organization and Islamic organization and world organization, we always had an understanding. I think we had mutual understanding together. So I think it's going to be much better, I'm sure, and it's going to always improve more and more, hopefully also.
Yes, and the importance of the economic ties between Egypt and Kuwait. How do you think this could be improved, as you mentioned?
It is improving already, and there's a lot of businesses here in Egypt from Kuwaiti companies, and there's a lot of Egyptians who's conducting business also in Kuwait and living in Kuwait for decades and for a long time. There's a lot of Egyptians working there and doing business there now. And it's mutual relation beneficiary for both parties, for both countries. So I am really hoping that it's continuing, and I think it's going to improve more and more in the recent or near future coming.
Yes, this improvement, how do you see the main fields of cooperation?
I think investment in Egypt now with the future of Egypt, and with the recent a lot of infrastructure in Egypt, construction in Egypt, and we are really building a new Egypt.
Yes.
And I'm sure that Kuwaiti people and Kuwaiti government are involved in all these fields, in many different fields in Egypt, as well as other Arab countries. But I think Kuwaiti are having a long history with Egypt, who's doing so all the time.
Yes, speaking of those investments, we know that the amount of investments from Kuwait into Egypt, they amount to about $15 billion here in the country. What is the importance, the significance of such a big number, because it is the biggest Arab country to be investing here in the country? What does this say about the trust between both countries?
Exactly. That's just said there. It's a very, very high amount of investment. That will show you how is the tie. I mean, they really, I think most Kuwaiti people feel that Egypt are a second home for them.
Yes.
And they always like to do business here, to come here, to spend most of their time in Egypt. With Egypt history also, and as they call it, our relation with most countries and us being there all the time, that make them
Yes.
closer and feel closer to Egyptian people, and we feel close to Egypt. And that's why I think there's a lot of investment, and most of the people there, they would love to have investment here or houses here, living most of the time here, if they can do it. And that's why the investment is one of the biggest one, and it's I think it's going to continue even more, and for more an amount of money and more amount of business between the two countries.
Yes, speaking of the joint agreements and the joint cooperation between Egypt and Kuwait, the Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, Tariq Al-Mullah, he spoke about 100 joint agreements in various fields in gas and petroleum between both Arab nations. What does this say about the cooperation in this important field, especially the gas and petroleum industries?
Just this one field. You're talking about 100 agreements.
Yes.
And I am sure there's another hundreds of other agreements in all different fields and all the kind of lifestyle we do have with them. And I am hoping it keep improving the same way. And we know the Kuwaiti policy, international policy, are very close to Egyptian policy. And I think they have mutual understanding together about how to deal with international policies and international problems and everything. We have a mutual understanding together. And I hope this will continue. And this will help us as two countries to improve ourselves and to having a good place in the world by have a good mutual relation with each other.
Yes, the hope of continuing those bilateral good mutual relations between Egypt and Kuwait, especially with the new Emir being named in Kuwait, Sheikh Mash'al, and President Sisi meeting with him today and offering his condolences. How do you see the future of relations between Egypt and Kuwait under the two leaders now?
I think it's only going to improve because even Sheikh Mash'al, he knows very well Egypt, and he had always good relation with Egypt. And I am glad that they have this meeting now. That's a good start for improving our relation more and more. I think we can, both countries benefit a lot from good mutual relation in every field, every subject. We can always benefit both of us. And I think this is going to continue. I think it's going to be much better. I have the feeling that it's going to grow better and a beneficiary for both countries, I'm sure.
Yes, over the past 10 or 12 years, especially after the 2011 and then the 2013 revolutions, we have seen the support, the financial support by Kuwait to Egypt, at least to be depositing billions of dollars in the Egyptian central bank as a tenor, to be supporting the Egyptian economy in terms of the hard currency, to say the least. How would you describe this support given by the Kuwaiti nation, the nation of Kuwait, over the past 10 years in this recent history?
We always support each other. We've been always supportive of Kuwait as Egypt. Egypt always was supporting of Kuwait and all the Arab states, and we always help them in all their crises and all their normal life. And I think they do the same with us. If we ever need help or need any assistance,
yes,
I think we can get it from them, because that's how the relation between us and them was for the last decades. From the old history until today, it's always, we've been supportive of Kuwait. And I'm sure Kuwait has always feel that it's a brotherhood relationship. And they always help if we need help, and we do the same all the time. And that's what's good about this kind of relations.
You've mentioned, Doctor, that you've been to Kuwait, and of course you know a lot of people working in Kuwait as the Egyptian community living in Kuwait. What are the main support given by the state of Kuwait to the Egyptian expatriates living there and working there? Because you've mentioned the relationship between the Kuwaiti citizens and the Egyptian nationals and expatriates living there and working as teachers, for example.
Teachers, that's how my father was. And
yes,
at the time, it was, at the time and now, at the time, Egypt was taking care of everything. Egypt was taking care even of the salaries for the Egyptian teachers and for the books and everything. And that's why they have a special feeling for Egypt especially, because I don't think there's any other country who did what Egypt did at this time until now, try to help all Gulf and all Arab countries. And that's why I think the Egyptian, no matter what thing can happen or problems from time to time can happen, like happening between brothers, it's still they have a special feeling for Egyptian people, because they have in their background that Egyptian always was there when they needed help. When any country, when any Arab countries needed help, Egypt is there. They always look for Egypt for support and help. I'm talking about in general also, it's not only Kuwait, but Kuwait, I think, it was one of the most important countries to Egypt. And the relation between us, it was a brotherhood relation. And we always supported them through the history. And they are supporting us when we need, and helping us when we need help. I think this is the way relation between countries should be.
On the social level, you've mentioned, Doctor, that your father lived in Kuwait for a number of years and worked.
He's the state minister of Kuwait, Abbas Hussein.
His friend.
This man was his roommate. He was together studying in the same college. The minister, Abbas Hussein, the state minister of Kuwait for like more than 20 years, he was a minister.
Yes.
His study was in Egypt with my father. And that's why he was roommate living in the same apartment in Cairo, and they was friends and they studied together. And then he went to Kuwait after that, and he became a minister in there for a long time. And he was the only one who was wearing suit and tie like my father used to do.
Yes.
And like all Egyptians at this time. And after that, after the 70s, they start more Egyptians going to Kuwait than before. And they lived for years and for decades, and they feel they are part of the community. And I think the Kuwaiti people, most of them, the majority of them are feel that Egyptians are the closest one of the foreigners or of the workers there. They are much more close to Kuwaiti, because the Egyptian culture is very dominating. And as I told you, they all feel Egyptian. Even, I mean, this is even in Europe, even in America. When I was in America or Europe, they feel Egypt is the second home. And for the Arabs, it's even more because of the teaching and because of they come here all the time. And that's the place where they want to go. Where they all want to go.
You mentioned a very important point, which is the cultural domination, the soft power of Egypt over the Arab world and the rest of the world as well, because we have our own historic culture, to say the least. How do you think we are working on this field, especially culture, to be speaking to other nations, speaking to other peoples from different nations all over the world, and convincing them that we are a country of peace, we are a country of civilization, thousands of years of civilization. We have a lot of offer to humanity.
Look, I lived in France, in Europe for a long time. I lived in America. And when you tell anybody I'm Egyptian, they look up to you. They are really surprised. They are so happy that you're Egyptian. Wow, you're Egyptian. It's because nobody did not study the Egyptian history. So Egypt for them is really something unbelievably big and important. And everybody in the world have a special feeling for Egyptian and for Egypt, because they feel it's their mother, kind of. It's the mother of history. It's everything here. And maybe our soft power did decline in some time for some reasons. And hopefully, and I hope, this reason kind of disappeared now, and we're getting back to where we were supposed to be and where we were. So the soft history is not only, soft power is not only history, it's a lot of other things. It's our TV everywhere, it's our movies everywhere. Like I remember when I was in Morocco, and the Moroccan man asked me, I said, how come we know everything about Egypt and you don't know much about Morocco? I said, that's not really our fault. Egypt are making a lot of culture, a lot of movies, a lot of stories, a lot of writers, a lot of everything, and we send it to everybody else. That's why everybody knows about us. It's from everything, from our leaders, even from our politicians, from our movies and books and everything. Our books everywhere in the Arab countries, you know that.
We have right now over the GCC nations, the Gulf Cooperation Council nations, a wave of new leaders over the past 5 to 10 years. A new leader in the United Arab Emirates recently, in Saudi Arabia, in Oman, in Qatar, even in Kuwait nowadays. How do you think this could be ushering in a new wave of leadership, a new mentality to be maybe dealing with the crises in the Middle East and the world, and more specifically and more recently, the Gaza situation?
Being a new or being young, it does not mean that you are not part of your history.
Yes.
Like first thing when I talk to you right now, I talk about my father. The fathers of these leaders right now, they are had different thinking and different approach to things because of how they lived their life and how, for example, they had tied with Egypt, how Palestine was important to them. How
yes.
All this development at the time, they know about it. So the young people who are in power right now, they should really use this history and know from this history and continue with a little different, with a little new approach to matters, with a new acts with the matters. But you cannot leave your real culture, and you cannot leave your real beliefs. Identity.
Yes.
You have to remember that very well. Believe me, even Western people, they would respect you more if you are strong with your identity and
yes.
believe in it and believe in where you come from, and they will even respect you more. They don't want you to be like them because you will never be like them. They want you to be you and them.
We need to embrace our identity and our true self-belief.
And I think the new leaders are very well with that, and I think they hopefully they will keep doing well and having a good approach with our problems.
Yes, Dr. Ahmed Sawwan will be having over the phone straight away Dr. Hani Abdelaziz, the former United Nations Assistant Secretary General. Thank you very much, Dr. Hani, for being with us over the daily debate.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you.
Anytime. First of all, how do you see the significance of the visit made by His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Kuwait to be paying condolences or offering condolences to the incoming Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Mash'al al-Ahmed al-Jaber al-Sabah, following the death of Sheikh Nawaf?
Definitely, it's a very positive sign, and for me, it's not only positive, it's a normal sign to go to the funerals and presenting his condolences to the family and to the Sheikh al-Mash'al, who is now leading the country.
Yes.
Relation between Egypt and Kuwait has been always very strong, sometimes with some, little problems concerning the Egyptian expatriate workers there, which happened recently with a few members of the parliament. But this was immediately overcome, and I think that Mash'al, who is a security man at the end of the day, will understand such things. I found adequate solution. We don't forget that it was the major Arab and Islamic country who contributed in the war effort to liberate Kuwait from Saddam Hussein.
Yes.
But we don't want to repeat that too much because we were convinced it was the right thing to do, and it was done properly and neatly. That's all that I can say. Let's hope the relation has developed more and more. I know they have some problem also with the investments in Egypt, their direct investments, and some deposits they made to the central bank. I'm aware of that. But I don't think those are a problem who will affect the deep relation between the two leaders and the two populations. By the way, the population of Kuwait is one of the best educated population in the Middle East. They have I would say, a great extent of freedom of speech. If one listens to what happens in the parliament, we really can be proud of that. Therefore, I like the Kuwaiti system. You see, I like the Kuwaiti system, which is somewhat different than the system or the regime in certain other countries. I like it, appreciate it, and I know it has optimal, I would say, tendency towards real democracy. At least real freedom of speech is really free, not censored, not prevented. I like that. It's a good move from the president to go and do like all the other Arab kings and presidents went to present the comparison. So we are not the only one. There are some absent, of course. But it's a moral obligation in our traditions, in our customs, which I'm like to continue. I'm an old school man, and I appreciate such type of gestures, which will permit the continuation of the very good, if not excellent, relation between the two countries and the two populations for the mutual benefit of both.
Yes, Dr. Hani, how would you see, as you've mentioned, the glimpse of the support given by Egypt to Kuwait through the invasion of Kuwait in the 90s by Iraq? On the other hand, how would you see the history of Egypt and Kuwaiti relations and the future of those relations, especially with a new incoming emir named Sheikh Mash'al as the emir of Kuwait following the death of Sheikh Nawaf?
As I said, Emir Mash'al is essentially a security man, and I'm sure he will be able to understand and speak freely in the future when they meet on business issues, so they can meet and understand each other much more. He has been trained in England, traveled frequently. Then his experience in security matter, and of course in political matters. Therefore, I imagine the current, the vibrations would be good between them. I imagine and expect that. Concerning the relationship and improving the relationship, there is also room for improving everything, but they're already very good. There is sometimes, I understand, some delicate issue related to expatriate workers there. Sometimes some members of the parliament have been harsh, but I respect that also because it falls within what I believe in, the freedom of speeches, as long as it's not harmful or insulting. I repeat, as long as it is not harmful and insulting. I can say, to my little knowledge about the country, because I never visited, that Egyptians are treated well to a great extent, but we have also to understand that the Egyptian workers abroad have a certain level of dignity, which is not necessarily the same level of dignity of other expatriates working there. Therefore, some can consider them a bit more difficult or less difficult. But no, I have only good vibrations. The relation was very good, and I expect it's going to be very good. It can improve. Eventually, if we can also improve our bureaucracy and facilitate the flow of direct investments. And when I speak direct investment, I mean essentially a long-term investment, not what they call the hot money coming, to deposit and being withdrawn next day. Direct investment in the field of development, in the field of health. I know they're involved in this already in Egypt. They have certain interests, and they have certain interests already existing. They can build on this. on the education, technical and vocational training. We are very happy to see something like this happen, and eventually in building factories for the Egyptian market, which is the largest Arab market, as you know, and eventually also for export to Gulf regions through the door of Kuwait. I think those aspects have to be discussed very seriously, and also,
Yes.
I would say, all the demarches, all the procedure to be facilitated legally for the speedy implementation of projects of that sort.
Yes, Dr. Hani Abdulaziz, the former UN Assistant Secretary General, thank you very much for being with us tonight over the phone on the Daily Debate. We will be heading to the second report of the program for tonight, which focuses, as Dr. Hani was speaking about, the possible investments coming from Kuwait and into Egypt, as we already have a big amount of investments from Kuwait into Egypt, amounting to be about $15 billion. Stay tuned for the upcoming report.
Relations between Egypt and Kuwait are strategic and well established and rooted in the depth of history. Kuwait and Egypt have established strong historic relations dating back to the middle of the 19th century. When both countries established trade ties, Kuwait has extended the maturity of its $4 billion deposit at the Central Bank of Egypt to maintain Egypt's international reserves. Kuwait's $4 billion deposit consists of two tranches worth $2 billion each, with one to be extended until April 2023 and the other due in September 2024. In its latest report, the CBE revealed that Egypt's international reserves currently stood at $35.1 billion in October. Egypt is looking to attract $25 billion in foreign direct investments within the next 5 years, to close a projected financing gap of around $17 billion by 2026. Egypt is looking to attract fresh foreign currency, including a target of $6 to $8 billion by the end of the fiscal year. The CBE added that the country's external debt declined to about $164.7 billion at the end of June 2023. Support from Gulf countries has played an important role in maintaining Egypt's reserves, with deposits from Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar to the central bank reaching around $29.9 billion. The countries have also expanded investments in various companies throughout recent years. Egypt and Kuwait enjoy long-standing strategic relations based on mutual understanding and consensus of vision between the two nations on various regional and international issues. Egypt-Kuwait trade hit around $306 million in 2022, up 21.4% from a year earlier, and amounted to $401 million in the first 11 months of 2022. There are 105 agreements governing relations of the two countries, and they are not new today but have existed since before Kuwait's independence and still exist to this day. Kuwait is in fourth place in the list of the most important countries investing in Egypt, and the value of its contribution to investment projects is about $4.937 billion. Minister of Petroleum Tariq Al-Mullah noted that the two countries established Egyptian-Kuwaiti Cooperation Council in 2014 with the aim of enhancing means of economic cooperation and seeking greater cooperation in the field of economy and investment. He affirmed that Egypt and Kuwait are two countries that extend the bonds of interdependence and cooperation between them. Leadership, government, and people. Mullah revealed that Egypt and Kuwait have a fruitful and constructive cooperation that is developing, and there are more than 100 joint agreements in various fields, as well as investments and development programs that embody distinguished nature of these relations. He indicated that the two countries are working to strengthen economic relations in various fields of trade and investments, and that Egypt witnessed during the era of President Fattah al-Sisi unprecedented developments in its modern history, and the climate of Egyptian became more attractive to Arab and foreign investors, in addition to the increase in the size of the presence of Kuwaiti investors in the Egyptian market.
Welcome back. You're still watching the daily debate. Dr. Ahmed Sawwan, the political analyst. Of course, my final question would be about the New Republic. You've mentioned that we have new infrastructure that is ready to be getting new investments from all over the world, and more specifically from Kuwait and the GCC nations. And on Monday, we will be having the results of the first phase of the presidential elections here in Egypt, I think at about 2 p.m. here in Egypt. So how would you see the future of Egypt regarding the GCC nations in general and for Kuwait in specific, but in about 30 seconds?
I don't think we need to really worry about it. I think the investment is coming. All we need to do is Egypt to facilitate investment and modernize the system in Egypt, and they are eager and they really want to invest in Egypt, and we just have to facilitate for them living in Egypt, investing in Egypt, and they will all come invest here. This is their second home. Egypt is second home for everybody in this Gulf state.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed Sawwan, the political analyst. Thank you very much once again for being with us on the daily debate for tonight. And this brings us to the end of this episode for tonight. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.